No excited voice today. I'm here to complain because I'm sick and tired of Gaijin ruining everything for no apparent reason. Now, I don't know about you, but I got into War Thunder specifically to fly World War II planes. Don't get me wrong, I do like jets, and I was excited when Gaijin started to add more and more jets into the game because variety is great. However, over the years, my excitement has turned into horror as the developers didn't just focus purely on jets, but also slowly made propeller aircraft gameplay worse in almost every single aspect. I don't know if they ruined props on purpose so more people would skip them, but it sure seems like it. If you don't believe me, go into any War Thunder Discord and ask people if they enjoy props. I can guarantee you that most will tell you that props are boring, unbalanced, or straight up unplayable. And, they would be right. I love props from the bottom of my heart, but even I can't play them anymore. And keep in mind, there are 1200 total planes in this game, but only 300 of them are jets. So props are the majority, but this majority has been turned into complete garbage. I want to address the tank players. I used to play tanks too, so I know that you have suffered as well. Things like volumetric armor has only made gameplay worse for everyone. Even so, World War II tanks are still very much playable, because Gaijin still cares about you. That's not the case for props. Downgrade number 1, the maps. This is one of those things that people tend to miss when thinking about why props became so boring to play. In case you don't know, War Thunder used to have these awesome unique maps that either got lobotomized or outright removed from the matchmaker. Norway is a good example of a map with a simple but engaging premise. The Allied team starts with only carriers, while the German team has 2 airfields to land on. However, one of those airfields was contested. A few minutes into the game, a group of landing craft would spawn and head towards the second German airfield. As an Allied player, if you defended those boats from the enemy planes and ground-based artillery, they would capture this airfield for you, together with its anti-air defenses. And obviously, if you were on the German team, it was in your best interest to destroy those landing craft, to deny allies an opportunity to easily land and repair. The Saipan map had a similar idea, just bigger in scale. Allies once again started with just carriers, while the Japanese team had 3 separate airfields to land on. While this seems unfair, the Japanese team was on the clock. As soon as the game began, a big group of AI F-6F Hellcats would spawn in and attack the ground defenses of airfields A and B. Soon after, 2 big groups of landing craft would deploy tanks on those islands, and those tanks would destroy the weakened defenses and capture both of the airfields. Now, I would love to showcase tanks doing this, but unfortunately the AI is broken, so they just sit there and do nothing. My apologies. Either way, as a Japanese player, you absolutely had to intercept those Hellcats and landing craft, as losing those points meant no place to land and a massive loss to tickets. On the contrary, as an Allied player, you wanted to support that attack, to have at least one airfield available to you. Now, how about something extreme? You remember Wake Island? As an Allied player, you spawned on the, Wake Island and had to take off ASAP. First, you had 2 waves of AI bombers heading your way. If you somehow managed to take care of that, you had to then rush towards a huge group of Japanese landing ships heading straight towards the island. You had a group of Catalinas trying to help, but there was only so much they could do. And don't forget, you had to do all this while the Japanese players were focused purely on killing you. Yeah, it was a rough time, but it was definitely very memorable. I want you to understand this. Old maps were so immersive because they had 2 crucial ingredients: a real historical event as context for this battle, and a real objective for players to fight over. Now, I'm no history nerd, I don't actually know what happened at Saipan or Wake Island, but I do know that something did happen in real life, and that's enough for it to feel cool, as well as seeing a real battle happen before my eyes, whether I participate or not. Most of these old maps either got removed or had all the interesting objectives disabled. Why? Because Gaijin switched to a new universal map format. So let's look at these new modern maps, and what do you know, they're all the same. No historical connection, no real battle or objective, just a pretty place with some AI sprinkled around. I will use Kamchatka as an example, but it doesn't really matter since they all follow the same formula. The location itself is just eye candy. Nobody fought there since 1854, so this battle is purely fictional. Both teams have the exact same AI unit composition. 4 bases, a line of pillboxes, 3 groups of tanks, and a few planes flying around. Again, there is no battle, no objective, no point to any of this. Pillboxes just shoot at each other. Tanks drive to the middle of the map and stand there, waiting to get bombed by the AI attackers. These AIs aren't fighting to achieve something, they only exist to randomly fire at other AIs until they explode. So why did we go from cool unique maps to these bland, uninspired sandboxes? Likely because old maps were kind of problematic. A lot of them had major balance issues, like one team spotting in the air while the other had to take off from the airfield, or the objective being set up in such a way that one team wins automatically if enough time passes. So Gaijin, as always, chose the easy way out. Instead of making the old maps more balanced, they got rid of them in favor of these new, awful cookie-cutter locations. I'm gonna be honest, I hate these new maps. To me, they are nothing but a reminder of how memorable the old maps were, even if they had problems. Downgrade number 2, the guns. Jesus Christ, did Gaijin butcher the guns over the years. I want us to be on the same page here, so I'm going to explain in very simple terms. Cannons are not just the main armament of propeller aircraft, it is the only armament of props. Most jets have missiles as an alternative, but props aren't so lucky. So, guns are your only way of destroying the enemy planes outside of ramming, but for some reason Gaijin has been very eager to mess with them over the years. They went back and forth with damage initially, but lately it seems like they want to make them entirely unusable. In 2022, they implemented ballistic changes for all the aircraft armament. What this actually meant in practice is that all guns became harder to use. Lower range, more velocity drop at distances, and worse trajectories. This one I was kind of willing to accept. While it was definitely just a big nerf to every single gun, getting hit from 2 kilometers wasn't a great experience. Now, on the other hand, guns that had bad ballistics before the change became even worse. The German Mk108, for example, became a melee weapon that can only reach somebody if they are 500 meters in front of you. In 2023, the infamous real shatter mechanic was rolled out. Basically, the cannon damage was annihilated. If you play tanks, imagine like volumetric, but 10 times worse. Almost every cannon in the game did literally nothing with HE shells, so people were forced to use AP, which, while not very good, was still better than useless HE. I don't know if they intended to do this, but after a long time of complaints and bug reports from players, the damage steadily improved. Some guns like the Soviet 23mm remained broken, but it was better than every single gun being broken. And 3 months ago, 3 days after the release of the Leviathan's update, we have hit rock bottom. The damage of all high explosive shells fired from cannons has once again been completely destroyed. And now it's worse than real shatter too. See, last time some guns like the German MG151 were unaffected. Not this time. Please understand that this is no exaggeration. Every cannon in the game ranges from very unreliable to completely unusable. You can hit the enemy plane with the biggest 30mm shell in the world and it won't do anything. So just like before, 50 cals are once again by far the best guns in the entire game. If you're not flying something armed with American 50s, you might as well not be playing the game at all. And yeah, you could load AP shells into your cannons, but at that point you're essentially using worse 50 cals, since you have nowhere near the same amount of ammo as them. And you have no idea how tired I am of this. I am tired of playing 50 cal planes just to have damage. It's been 3 months already and Gaijin is doing absolutely nothing to fix this. All the bug reports have been closed because Gaijin says the issue is fixed. Do you guys understand just how bad this situation is? At least half the planes in this game use cannons as their main armament, and this main armament doesn't work. What are these goddamn developers doing, man? The saddest part about all this is that missiles were broken when the Leviathan's update came out. They did no damage, and it took Gaijin 3 days to fix this. 3 days. While we have been sitting here with useless cannons for 3 months. Okay. Now, I sincerely hope that by the time you guys watch this issue has been fixed. I truly do hope so. But for now, I don't even want to play the game anymore thanks to it. Downgrade number 3, the airfield anti-air defenses. I know you're gonna hate me for it, but hear me out. In the early years of War Thunder, airfields were protected by fairly weak AA guns. What this meant is that you could usually perform hit-and-run attacks without getting damaged, but if you stayed inside the radius for an extended period of time, you would get damaged and killed. This was fine for props, but as jets in War Thunder became faster and faster, Gaijin decided to buff the airfield guns to be a lot more deadly. So keep this in mind. Because of jets, they buffed AAA across the board, instead of addressing only those BRs. After this buff, the AA guns became hit-scan weapons of mass destruction, capable of deleting your whole plane as soon as you got inside their 4-kilometer death radius. There is no counterplay, as they deal damage instantly. I'm sure a lot of you people like it, but let's analyze it from the game design perspective. When you think of any other game that has spawn protection, that protection only exists in game modes where you can actually respawn after dying, which is why it's so important to keep that spawn safe. In ARB, you don't respawn. You have 1 life that you get at the start of the game, so spawn camping is impossible. If you do return to the airfield to repair or rearm, that's on you. You got damaged, ran out of fuel, or spent all your ammo, so you now have to pay the price of landing. When you think about it this way, War Thunder game design becomes very funny. So you're gonna tell me that ARB, a mode without respawns, has hyper deadly mega spawn protection, but Air Arcade and Tanks, modes with respawns, have no spawn protection? I mean, Jesus Christ, in Tank RB you can literally drive into the enemy spawn and you just get marked on the map. That's it. But in ARB you get vaporized by World War II era AA guns. Sure, Gaijin, that makes perfect sense. But okay, let's say you want to have this mechanic in ARB just because you like the safety of it. Let me try to explain why I hate that. We are all human, imperfect, full of ego, and we hate failure. So when you are the last player alive, it is extremely tempting to run back to your airfield so it can kill your enemies for you. You don't want to die after all. You don't want to fail. And listen, if you do this, I don't hate you personally. I hate Gaijin for allowing this to happen in the first place, for allowing the last player alive to keep the other 10 or so players hostage just because they are flying around their airfield. Now, a lot of people say, if someone is airfield camping, just go do something else. But you have been listening to the first section of this video, haven't you? There is nothing else to do on these new modern maps. There are no objectives to engage with, only some useless AI scattered across the map. And even if I do go after those AIs in hopes of winning the game, the airfield camper can now easily go after me and kill me, since I would be low to the ground trying to kill AI. This is the main reason why airfield camping is so annoying. There is just nothing else to do in this game except kill other people. Give me something to do except PvP. Hell, give bombers something to do. Bombers are now completely useless since destroying bases has zero impact on the game. Now, if bombers had their own objective that, let's say, disabled enemy AA guns upon completion, I would be more than happy to protect and support them. But no, of course not. That would be too good for War Thunder. As it stands, Hitscan AAA only exists to waste everybody's time. And this is why people hate props. Nobody wants to kill 99% of the enemy team only to be stuck in this match for 10 more minutes because the last person alive keeps circling their airfield and there is nothing you can do about it. And here's the best part about all this. So Airfield AA was buffed because of jets. But now jets have their own special AA that is actually fair. In jet BRs, airfields are protected by a combination of radar-guided cannon SPA together with radar-guided Roland missile launchers. And you know what? You can actually play around those. Missiles can be avoided easily with the right approach, while the gun AA can be defeated by constantly dodging, since they actually fire real projectiles. This is something I will never understand. How come World War II anti-air is a hit-scan weapon of mass destruction, while modern radar-guided anti-air is fair and balanced? Shouldn't it be like the other way around? Okay, moving on. Problem number 4, the Airspawn planes. Yes, I'm looking at you, Dornier 335, P-38, Wyvern, Strikemaster, B-7A2, and many others. Unlike the previous downgrades I mentioned, Airspawn has consistently been a huge problem in propeller aircraft gameplay over the years, and it is still a huge pain in the ass for everybody. In case you didn't know, some planes in this game spawn in the air instead of the airfield. And while this is usually reserved for harmless bombers, strike aircraft and interceptors also get an airspawn. Now this doesn't sound too bad on paper. After all, the airspawn simply allows these aircraft to perform their roles better, whether it's bombing, attacking ground targets, or intercepting the bombers. The problem arises when you realize that the aircraft I mentioned don't actually have to stick to their intended purpose. What if they, let's say, use their airspawn to rush straight towards the enemy spawn and engage the enemy with a massive altitude advantage? And surprise, that's exactly what they do. You see, using an airspawn plane in ARB is essentially cheating. You get free altitude, which you can then use to disrupt the entire enemy team while they can't do anything about it. You remember XP-50, right? The plane that dominated every single match for 8 years or so just because it had good performance and an airspawn. There was absolutely nothing you could do if a good XP50 player decided they wanted you dead. Now, believe it or not, Gaijin actually removed its airspawn in one of the recent updates. So if we assume that it takes 8 years to get rid of one broken airspawn plane, then I think it's safe to assume that this problem isn't going anywhere anytime soon. This is one of those things that creates a very binary dynamic to ARB. Either you play an airspawn plane yourself and feel great because you get to abuse an unbalanced mechanic, or you fly a regular plane and watch as every single game your team gets owned by a singular good player in a Wyvern. And now I'm just going to rapid fire other small issues I have with prop gameplay. As I said before, bombers and attack aircrafts are mostly useless. They don't have any useful objectives to complete, they serve no purpose other than getting killed by fighters, so most people consider them dead weight. And rightfully so. And keep in mind that there is a huge number of these aircraft types in every nation. Perhaps you wanted to fly them, like I did when I first started playing this game. But nope, they're useless trash that doesn't fit into ARB gameplay whatsoever. Thanks, Gaijin. Very cool. The general balance of aircraft is completely out of whack. Now, I know this problem isn't specific to propeller aircraft, but they suffered the most from it, as Gaijin barely, if ever, adjusts the prop plane BRs anymore. F-8F Bearcat is the fastest piston-driven aircraft at sea level, on top of being insanely good at climbing and decently good at dogfighting. What BR do you think this plane sits at? 6.0? No, it's 4.7. Why? Because it has 4 50 cals, I guess. And surely you've heard of Yak-3U, Spitfire LF Mark 9, and P-51H. All of them are insanely oppressive aircraft that have been terrorizing the player base for years now. And people have been asking Gaijin to please increase their BRs. But no. The algorithm says no. Premiums. Good lord, there are too many premiums that could have been Tech Tree vehicles. I mean, have you ever looked at the American Tier 4 on the War Thunder wiki? Look how many premiums there are. There are in fact more paid vehicles than there are Tech Tree vehicles. And sometimes premiums are way better than anything on offer in the regular tree. Have you ever seen the Swedish Air Force? There is not a single good propeller plane to be found, except for the premium Puremirsky. Don't you just love it when the premium is the best choice? So, in summary, playing World War II planes in War Thunder is akin to torture. You play on awful maps that have no objectives or anything to do in general except killing other players, which is also very, very problematic because your guns don't work unless you're using 50 cals. Even if you are using 50s, every other game you get constantly harassed by air spawning planes that you can do nothing about except play an air spawning plane yourself. And even then, half of your team might be useless bombers and attackers that don't fit into the gameplay loop at all. Even if you manage to overcome all that and wipe the enemy team, you will be held hostage by the last enemy player because they are hiding inside the kill zone of their airfield AA. And again, there is nothing you can do about it except type bad words into the chat in your desperation. War Thunder initially was a game about World War II aircraft. This is what made it popular. This is why people loved it. These days, however, Gaijin couldn't care less about their legacy. They are happy to leave all this to rot and die as long as the new players keep buying the new jet premiums. And hey, if they don't care, what can I do? I'm just a nobody they don't even know about. But it's just a little bit sad to watch the World War II content be forgotten and left to die simply because it's not as profitable anymore.